Hello there. Olatunji Sobodu is my name, and it's my pleasure to be with you again this Thursday. And this is Leadership in 30 Minutes. This is Leadership in 30 Minutes. And today we'll be talking on the subject of truth versus talent. Truth versus talent. What should be the choice of the leader? What would you choose as a leader if you were faced with a situation where you have to make a choice? Do you go for truth or do you go for talent? Or perhaps you've never been in that kind of situation, but I can guarantee you that those situations are real. Those situations, as leaders, we often face them. And the choice we make would either mar or make our leadership assignment. We would succeed or fail depending on which we go for. All right, that's what we'll be looking at today. But let me, before I go into, that business, let me just draw your attention in case you were not with us on Monday. The leadership nugget that I spoke about was, can you be trusted? And that you want to listen to that at the end of this video. You can check that out, or just go to the to my YouTube page and take a look or take a listen to that video. Is very important. It tells you 4 ways by which you can build trust with your team, and especially speaks to the subject of the need for you to create an atmosphere of trust. And leadership in 30 minutes for last week, we actually focused on how to lead overzealous people. You may not have seen that video. I think you should check that out also. Every now and then, we come across overzealous people in our teams, and it can be tricky how you manage them, how you lead them actually. And that video will help you, to set the record straight. It would empower you. I did actually get some feedback, so a number of people were able to pick some very vital insights from the video. Okay, so today is truth versus talent. Would you uphold truth, or your preference will be for talent? Express your choice in the comments, perhaps while we're at it, and we'll just showcase it on the screen if you are joining me live today. Otherwise, at any other time, others would be able to see your choice. So there is truth and there is talent. Again, let me remind you, at Emed Leadership Academy, we are biased in favor of truth. Our tagline is leadership nurtured by truth, and there's a reason why that is so. So maybe the reason for that will come through from our session, today. But more importantly, the fact is that for us, truth is found in the Word of God. So we're inspired by the Word of God. We're inspired by the principles that have biblical support. And so we'd like to set the record straight. And that's the context in which we discuss all our issues relating to leadership. That's not to say that we don't bring experience to bear. At least I have not less than 3 decades of very qualitative, very credible experience in the area of leadership. I've been at it from very early in my career. So I have some understanding of how these things work, but I would never place my experience over the truth that I found in the Word of God. And you shouldn't do that as well. Why? The Bible says, forever, O Lord, your word is settled in heaven. You can't do anything against the truth, but for the truth. Maybe we should start from there. Now, that's a profound statement. There is nothing that anyone can do against the truth. Ultimately, you have to walk in favor of the truth or align yourself with the truth. So maybe that answers the question. That answers the question. The truth has to be number one. Truth has to be what you uphold. Always. Because if you don't, then you are pitching yourself against the truth and you won't win. It may appear so in the short run, but I guarantee you, nobody wins against the truth. I remember a proverb that is often said, where I come from, that it says, look, that the truth may be suppressed for 20 years, but one day the truth is going to come alive. The truth fights for itself. The truth doesn't need anyone to fight for it. The truth is so powerful that as much as you try to bury it, it will rear its head. And its head is not ugly. It's ugly for those who cannot embrace the truth. And people, in fact, most of us, we fight against the truth. Why? Because the truth isn't sweet, or at least so many people think, because we often say truth is bitter. But truth is actually sweet because truth is light. And the Bible tells us light is sweet. But I guess it is sweet to those who understand the power of truth and the benefit of upholding truth. To those who understand that they can never win against the truth, but that they are better off riding on the wave of truth, because truth is the guarantee of success. I mean, I would rather stay on the side of the promise of truth than stay against it. For the reason that we've just talked about, you can't walk against the truth. You can only, and it's in your best interest, to walk in favor of the truth, to walk in favor of the truth. So we immediately begin to see that truth is to be preferred. Truth is to be preferred. Truth is to be preferred. And, if you prefer the truth, then what happens to talent? What happens to talent? Are we saying that talent is not important? No, that's not what we are saying. It's far from it. Talent is very important. Very important. But we're talking about choice. And so maybe we stretch that to also say we're talking really about priorities. We're talking about two very important components that you need to be successful in life. But don't put the cart before the horse, because that's where the problem would arise. One ought to benefit from the other, not the other way around. Truth fuels talent. Talent ought to benefit from your possession of the truth. Let me back up a bit and share a couple of things. I've made a first statement that you can't do anything against the truth but for the truth. There's a second statement that you need to listen to. That's in John 8 and verse 32. And there is a popular statement. You may, in fact, have listened. I'm sure you would know that statement. And that statement says that you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. That freedom there talks about the empowerment dimension or benefit of truth. But you need to know truth for it to empower you to rise above everything that will fight against the truth. Everything that will fight against your knowledge of the truth. And by the way, I want it to be clear in our minds that when we are talking of truth, yes, we are talking of Bible truth, but we're talking of truth in absolute terms, because whatever is the truth, all right, will also share or exhibit those characteristics. And by the way, something can be true, but it may not be the truth. I would deal with that at a different session that will take us, off tangent a bit. Okay, so let's come back to the preeminence of truth. Truth empowers freedom. Truth empowers freedom. And you can look at that, however you want. However you want. Truth empowers freedom. You, in any area of life, once you locate the truth, you're empowered to act on it, and you believe in the truth that you've located. If you would take steps, that's the end of the issue you are facing. That's the end of the issue. Your faithful implementation or alignment with truth by action, that will bring you into the era of freedom or victory or triumph, if you like, or success or results. They all talk about the same thing in the context of what we are discussing. So, add that statement to the first one that I made. First of all, you can't do anything against the truth, but for the truth. Secondly, the truth that you know will set you free. Third, if you look at John 17 and verse 17, it says, actually, Jesus had already spoken and said, when he was giving his report card on his leadership assignment, how successful he had been in John 17. That's where you find Jesus's report card. And in case you want to understand what the scorecard of a true leader looks like, that's where you would find it. Jesus said, I have given them your word. In verse 17, we will come back there. I have given them your word. In verse 14. In verse 17, he then said, sanctify them by your word. Your word is what? Truth. Your word is truth. He didn't say in all of that 17, John 17, here was somebody who was rendering his report as a leader. Now, he was rendering his report as a leader because he was speaking not to his other mandate, because he had a mandate to lead and to prepare people who were going to continue telling his story. That's why he put together a team of 12. So in John 17, he was telling God that, look, I have finished this component of my assignment. That's why you may want to look at the session that I did during the Easter. I spoke about, I think the subject was, "It is written." And I basically said that, look, Jesus had two mandates. One of it was a salvation mandate. The other one, also very important, was the aspect that will guarantee continuity. That there will be people who needed beyond the time he spent on the earth. There had to be people who were going to carry on telling the stories, and he had to prepare them as leaders. So he was given in John 17 a report card on what he had done, how successful he had been in preparing these gentlemen. Now, he never mentioned anywhere in John 17 that he gave them talent. It wasn't mentioned anywhere. But he kept on talking about the importance of the word that he gave them, the importance of the teaching that he delivered to them. He said, I have given them your word. And if you know the word that he gave them the truth. He gave them the truth. Because again, if you back up, you would find in John chapter 1 and verse 1, we are told, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And we are told in that John chapter 1 that the Word is truth. The Word is truth. All right. Even in John 17 and verse 17, he said, "Sanctify them by your word. Your word is truth." Truth. Your word is truth. So he didn't deliver to them talent. All right. Although he recognized talent. And that's why he told the parable of the talents in Luke 19. He spoke about the parable of the talents. And you would find in the parable of the talents the importance of talent. Because there, the master, the leader, delivered talents, okay, to the servants, to his followers. And he said to them that they needed to do something with the talent. He said they needed to do something with the talent. So if you look at the fact that the same person who did not incorporate the delivery of talent while he was rendering his scorecard, all right, also gave a parable on talent, a very cornerstone parable for that matter. It tells you that truth is important. Talent is also important. After all, when we look at the parable of the talent, he said he saluted those who made good use of their talents. He said, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And he scolded the one who did not make good use of the talent. So talent is important. Talent needs to be recognized. A leader needs to recognize talent. A leader needs to teach the truth and actually develop talent. That's what the leader does. But the truth must lead the recognition of talent. The truth must carry a greater weight than talent. If you flip them, then you are setting yourself up for failure. If you flip, you are setting yourself up for failure as a leader. So it isn't one or the other when you talk about talent and truth. It is both. but it is one before the other. It is one before the other. Now, there's something I like about that statement: sanctify them by your word. Your word is true. For him to mention that, please listen to this. For him to have mentioned that in that context. Now, the interpretation of sanctify is not entirely, spiritual, in quotes. Okay. One interpretation says that to sanctify means to set apart. It means like to prepare for a purpose. So you understand that the truth prepares your people for the responsibility of leadership. The truth prepares your people for the responsibility of leadership. Without it, you can't do leadership right. And it reminds me, I have a class, we call it the class of 12, the class of truth, where I teach the 12 brutal truths. I call them brutal truths of leadership. They are core truths upon which successful leadership must be grounded. If you're interested in that, just indicate in the comment and I'll send you a link. 12 is a 12-week program. It would change your perspective, an understanding of what the core of leadership is. Fundamental truths. And when you lay hold of that, forget it. You are bound to succeed. That's the importance. In fact, that program came out of the priority nature of truth. My conviction of the priority nature of truth for doing leadership. In the process, you will impart talent because truth imparts talent. How? Talent is grace, basically. That's the spiritual word that you use for it. But what is grace is talent. Another word for talent, another word for skill, another word for some level of expertise, grace. All right? But we understand that the major source of grace is knowledge. The major source of grace is knowledge. If you want to be hyper spiritual, you will say it's the knowledge of God. But I guarantee you that it's not just the knowledge of God in the sense, because there is nothing true that is the truth that is not of God. There is no principle that works that is not of God. All right? So it is knowledge. When you have knowledge, think about it, in any area where you command knowledge, you are empowered in a strange dimension. The things you can do after acquiring knowledge, after truly knowing from learning, you would never have been able to do that without knowledge. That's the empowerment. That's what talent makes happen. That's what grace is all about. It's the blessing that is talked about in Genesis 1, all right, and 28. Said, and God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply. What the blessing is, the grace that he put, is any endowment that you have. And may everyone has an endowment from birth, something that comes with you that you need to develop, but we also acquire talents as well. We acquire skill. We build up on grace. The source of grace, the greatest source of grace, is the word and its truth. What does Acts say? It reminds me, Acts 20 and verse 32. He said, Paul was saying, he said, I commend you to God and to the word of his grace, which is able to build you up, and to deliver an inheritance for you or to you among the saints. So the word is a source of grace. That word helps you to lay hold on the promise of what has been revealed to you, which is knowledge. That's how truth empowers talent. That's why truth must come before talent. That's why the talented must never become too big to fuel his or her talent by continuous learning, continuous acquisition of knowledge, and most importantly, truth. And most importantly, truth. So I hope that we're getting the picture. Truth, talent. Truth first, talent after. Not the other way around. The problem, if I would mention that right away, is that some of us, talent is easy to observe. It's a lot easier to observe than truth. Truth is a bit more salient, is what you know. All right? It's expressed in action, but talent is out there. I mean, talent, you easily display it. Anyone can easily see it. And therefore, people tend to acknowledge talent a lot earlier, a lot faster, a lot better than they would acknowledge the truth that you know. The problem with that is that when we are talented and we get the acknowledgement, we can get puffed up. So talent can puff you up. It can set you up. You become proud. And you may also think that you don't need to improve. It doesn't get you to place that much emphasis on the need for you to continue to develop yourself. And that's dangerous. That's very dangerous. Very dangerous. You don't want to go through that route. But I guarantee you the other way is a more sure route to follow. Your emphasis on truth, your emphasis on knowledge acquisition. Because as you grow, you will grow in talent. You will grow in talent. That's why people tend to talk about somebody who is hardworking, somebody who continuously is committed to development. That people like that end up becoming, they make greater impact, they become better than those who are geniuses. Because the genius status can make you complacent, can make you proud. And when you come to issues of spirituality, pride is dangerous. So talent can attract trouble. It starts with T also. All right. So there's something I want to speak to before we close our session today. And in Proverbs 23:23, there is a very important attribute of truth, a counsel about truth that I want us, we shouldn't miss it. I want to leave it with us. And you should read it. And it says there, it said, buy the truth and don't sell it. Never sell it. You won't find anywhere where that counsel is given concerning talent. And I said, while I was preparing for this, that if you have an investment portfolio, truth is an asset that you must have. Is a vital asset that you must have, and that you must keep buying, in quotes, and never trade. Don't sell means don't trade the truth that you acquire. Don't let it go. Don't let people take it away from you. Don't let anyone rubbish you. Don't let anything be more attractive to you than the truth. The truth that you acquire is the most valuable asset that any of us will ever have. There is nothing else. Of course, every other thing, I mean, if you read the totality of that verse, it says, also wisdom, instruction, and understanding. They are all relations of the truth. Because if you truly know the truth, all right, all of those things are part of it. It said, buy it. That is, go looking for it. Place emphasis on it. It must be your priority. Make sure that when you are talking of your sources of leverage, truth must be a cornerstone source. Talent, by the way, is also an asset. But that asset, as we have seen, is produced by truth in the main, and is further nurtured and enhanced by your practice of the truth. But you can sell your talent. In actual fact, talent has a nature just like truth, that you can sell it without necessarily losing its value. I'm sharing, for example, my insights right now with your good selves. But the fact that I'm sharing them does not mean that I've given them away to you and therefore I don't have it again. No. I still have it, but I'm sharing it. Suppose you paid to listen to this, episode, then I would have made money without losing the asset. The beauty of truth, the beauty of talent. But the fact that we're told that you should not sell the truth means that it is possible that we sell it. After all, he said, buy the truth. Who are you going to buy it from? Somebody else must possess it. The truth must be somewhere. Somebody else must be asking for a price for it. All right? So you can acquire it and it can be sold. But you are warned, don't sell it. Don't sell it. And one of the easiest ways that we sell it is nonchalance. It's not giving it the requisite respect. There are people who possess the truth, who actually have answers to the challenges they face, but they can't see it. Some can't use what they have. They can't act on what they have. They don't believe what they have enough to act, to take the steps that it suggests. When you look at the parable of the sower possessed the seed. That's talent. He possessed the seed. But we also told that he's a sower, which means that he understood the process of how to turn the seed to fruit. That's why they called him a sower. They didn't call him an engineer. He didn't say an engineer stepped out or an accountant stepped out. He said a sower stepped out. And what did he do? He sowed seeds. He had the possession of the seed. So he was trained and he had talent. He had the truth and he had talent. You see that both of them are required. But what did he do with the seed? The very first scenario that was painted for us there, we were told that some seeds were planted on the wayside. That's nonchalant. How does a sower plant seed on the wayside instead of in the farm, in a prepared land? So as it were, he possessed the truth because he was trained. He understood exactly what he needed to do. But he virtually sold the truth Because if he had applied the truth, he would never plant on the wayside. He was not intentional enough. And that was the end of the seed. I mean, every time you plant on the wayside, that's the end of the seed. It is possible for you to possess the truth. It is possible for you to possess the talent, and nothing comes out of it. You bought the truth, but you sold it. But you sold it. Never, ever sell the truth. Never trade the truth. You can trade talent. Don't trade the truth. In the parable of the talents, we're told that he gave them talent. And what did he say? He said, trade with this. Do business with this. And the more spiritual setting, you say, occupy till I come. The implication, the interpretation of that is simply do business with this till I come. Do business with this till I come. Trade. So talent is traded, it can be invested, and it can be acquired, just like truth. But whereas you are allowed to trade talent, you are not allowed to trade the truth. And for this purpose, what we're saying is that you don't sell the truth. The truth is an asset that you continue to acquire your entire life. The truth is an asset that must be a cornerstone component of your investment portfolio. So are you investing without having a knowledge of what you're doing, of what is driving your activity? Are you in a career without having a knowledge of the truth about how to succeed in your line? Because every endeavor has a foundation of truths that makes things happen, that get exploits, that get results. And that's what you and I need to keep going after. Need to keep going after. That's what we need to keep going after. I love the concept of looking at truth as an asset. I think it's very interesting. I think it's very powerful. But it's a non-tradable asset. You shouldn't trade it. Not that it can be traded, because, like we said, you bought it. You can buy it. You can learn. Just like you see the scroll, there is a program that we have. I call it Profit from Principles. The idea is to get the truth that is hidden in parables. It's to empower yourself with the truth that is hidden in parables. And if you have not studied it, you should think seriously about undertaking an adventure in parables. Because parables cover virtually the most important things in life. And they express principles, the cornerstone principles of life. They are hidden in parables. So when you undertake that adventure and you learn those parables, what are you doing? You are buying the truth. You are buying the truth. And so your life will now be run on the basis of the things that you have learned, on the basis of the truth that you have learned. And it has to make your life different. It has to differentiate you. Truth is a differentiator. If you go for it, you can't be treated like everybody else. Why? Because you don't live like everybody else. You get results that differentiate you because you are practicing what works. Truth works when you put them, when you bother to put them to use. When you bother to put them to use. There's so much that we can say. So again, I hope I would put a link to the Profit from Parables program It's I can't overemphasize it. That it's an adventure that I think any of us should undertake, at least once in a lifetime. And I keep asking people how many people have taken the time to undertake an adventure, deliberate adventure, especially an adventure that somebody takes you on, to uncover the truths hidden in parables. Jesus never taught without parables. It's a statement in scripture. He said, without parables, he did not teach. I mean, if why were they so important? That he anchored his teaching and his life, because he wasn't a hypocrite. He was authentic. Whatever he asked you and I to do, if you read the Bible very well, you know that he subjected himself to that. He didn't have a different set of rules for himself, that exonerated him from practicing the same thing that he was teaching. So what does he say? It tells us that if we understand those parables, we'll be able to live like he lived, and to get results, that show that we're operating on a level that is supernatural, that is not just ordinary. And all we're doing is trading truth that we have uncovered, truth that some people will not invest in. We are told, buy the truth, invest in the truth. If you haven't been doing that, nothing empowers more than truth. Nothing. In life, nothing empowers more than truth. And I would rather spend on to acquire something that people cannot work against. If we go back to what I said earlier, you can't do anything against the truth, but for the truth. It reminds me also, what Jesus said? Jesus said in John 15, he said, without me, you can do nothing. But in John chapter 1, we're told that he is the truth. In fact, he himself said, I am the way, the truth that gives life. That's my interpretation. All right. I am the way, the truth. So, and he says we can't do anything against the truth. He said, without me, the truth says, without me, you can't get results. So why would I put anything else above the truth? When the truth can also deliver talent or nurture talent, develop talent, why would I put anything else above the truth? But, and this is my last point, the truth is not easy to acquire. People get offended by the truth. The truth offends. That's the problem. The truth offends. But talent puffs. The truth offends. John 6 and verse 63. He had to say to people after he had told them the truth, and the people said, this is a hard saying. Who can bear it? How can somebody talk like this? This is too hard. All he was telling them is the truth. And to also show you that you can't pick truth, talent over truth, but the other way around. Actually, those, he asked them, he said, does the truth offend you? He said, does the truth offend you? And they walked away, which is fine. And he then looked at the ones that he had called himself and said, gentlemen, do you want to follow them? Because if the truth offends you, there is no basis for us to deal. There's no reason for you to follow me. You won't profit from following me. If a leader commits to the truth and your people are not willing, There's no point in them following you. They're not going to benefit. And the leader who is not committed to the truth as a matter of priority is just playing games. What you are doing is destroying the lives of the people instead of adding value to them. Because it is truth that adds value. In the same way that truth nurtures talent, truth adds value, is the basis for adding value. It's the basis for adding value. Thankfully, those guys said, sir, we're not going. Said, to whom are we going to? We know who is the truth. We will stay with the truth. He said, you have the words of eternal life. You have the words of truth. You have the words. He said, and so we choose truth over any other thing. It's okay, you guys are smart. And for those who may be interested, you can check out my book. It's my recent book. And that's basically something that I, focused on as well. It said, does this offend you? The idea there is just to share with you the importance of truth and the why leaders must never negotiate the truth. If you're interested, you can also check out in the comments, you would see a link there, that will help you to get a copy. You can lay hold on the copy of the book. It promises to be an immense blessing, even if I have to say so. So it's been quite, a long session today. Let me bring the session to a close by showing you something that you may not have noticed before. When you look at John 1 and verse 14, you would find that we were told that Jesus was full of what? Grace and truth. Grace and truth. Yes, he was said to be the word, said to be the truth, but he was also said to be full of grace and truth. Notice, earlier on we said, what is grace? Talent. So, if he was full of grace and truth, that means that those were essential endowments that he possessed that explained why he was a success, why he was that much of a success. So you see, if the truth, if he, being the truth, also possessed talent, which by the way we have said is natural because, then it means both of them are required. Both of them are required. You need talent and you need truth. But ensure that your priorities are set right. Truth must come before talent. Truth must come before talent. Don't allow talent to overtake truth in your priority, because talent can puff up, but truth, don't be among those that are offended by the truth. Look on the bright side. Pay the price to acquire the truth. Don't pay attention to the offense. Give it what it takes and see what the results that the truth will produce in your life. So finally, leaders teach truth, but they develop talent. They teach truth, but they use it to develop talent, among others. I think it's a good place to stop today. And I hope that you have gained something from today's discussion. Please let me encourage you to share comments, subscribe if you have not yet subscribed to the channel. It's always a pleasure. Please give feedback. Your comments provide feedback. And if you want me to speak on any subject in the area of leadership, to throw a light, or to just share my perspective on it, maybe you need some clarification, please go ahead and just express it, ask for it in the comments, and then I will speak to that at some episode not too far away. For those who need help with developing their leadership competence, you can reach out, send me an email or just request again in the comment area, and we can work out something. Some people need coaching, people reach out to me. I'm open to that, and we can talk about various things. And there are various programs that we may also be able to expose you to that will help you to build these all important capacity or competence in the area of leadership. We all know that the world is in dire need of insights, of leaders, credible leaders. And many times you and I are looking for people that we can appoint as leaders. We forget that at our levels, we are called to provide leadership. We forget that we can and we need to build ourselves up so that we can be the leaders, instead of looking for people who will become leaders. And one of the things I've found, especially in more recent times, is that even where people have the responsibility to elect, to identify, to recommend leaders, they don't know what to look for. They can't differentiate between a good leader or a true leader and a false leader. All right. But you need understanding to be able to differentiate appropriately. Otherwise, we run the risk of putting people in place. If all you do, you must understand that the dress doesn't make the monk as far as leadership is concerned. And you have to leave sentiments aside, but you need an understanding of what true leadership entails, and especially leadership that is nurtured based on truth. Thank you for joining me today. Also, go around, on my page, you have other videos. I'm sure many of them would be of interest to you. They would add value to you. Take time, look through them. Don't forget to provide insights and share the link with your friends, with colleagues. Let's spread the word. Leaders will never be too many. They're in very short supply now, so we need to ramp up our efforts at building leadership competence and capacity. And there are ways you and I can make contributions in this regard. Thank you very much. We meet again by the grace of God on Leadership Mondays. Is 11 a.m. West African time. Join me next Monday. And just as this comes up, 11 a.m. West African time on Thursday, so we meet on Mondays for Leadership Monday. Take a nugget, that sets you on course to do leadership right over the course of the week. And then we further blossom. We further discuss more substantive, issues on Thursday. Not necessarily what we speak about. We haven't, the trend isn't that we speak about something on Monday and then we blow it up on Thursday. No, I tend to talk about different things, except of course, there is the pressure, the request, or the inspiration to continue speaking on what I started on Monday, also on Thursday. Otherwise, it's fresh every episode. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend. God bless you. Bye-bye.